This is Mr. Vishal Gavas. I'm an assistant professor in Department of Mathematics, Government College Kandula, and we are gonna see today a topic called as classical theory of probability. Okay, we have heard or at least known to what is probability, right? And for those who have not heard or not are new to this topic, don't get panic. We would be learning at least something by the end of this discussion. All right, so now what does probability means? Okay, in our day-to-day life we are predicting or kind of making assumptions about a lot of things. You see, for example, if I take the present scenario, if one says that how surely do you think that we how surely I think that I may not need any kind of medical treatment, okay, or how surely one can say that the item the price of an item would not going up or would be going up by at least 20% of its current price. So these questions are pretty much hard, and hard to answer because you don't know what exactly the outcome is, right? These questions are pretty much difficult to be answered by you as well as as well as me. Sorry, neither you have the answer nor myself, right? So in short, what one can say that we are actually living in a world of uncertainty, right? Then nothing is certain, right? So, in this very small kind of a discussion, we would try to we'll try to make an effort to study certain phenomena, right? And try to predict their outcomes to up to a certain percentage of uh, accuracy, right? We nobody can predict an event 100%. We only can make a prediction that this event might occur, or this person of possibility, or this person of chance for it to happen, and this person of chance for it not to happen, those things, right? So let's begin with the ideas of the probability theory. Before that, let's take out some kind of notations which will help us in order to define certain kind of formulas. Okay, so the first definition is called as random experiment. Now, a random experiment is an experiment whose outcome is pretty hard to predict. You can't be certain. Okay, a certain outcome cannot be predicted, right? You may not be able to predict what would happen. For example, if suppose there is a coin, okay, and if you want to toss that, it's difficult for one to say that I know that the possible outcome for us, I'm not too sure whether I would get a take, So there are very much uncertainties when it comes to talking about, isn't it? So this kind of experiments wherein you are not certain about a certain outcome, right? As random. For example, you're buying a device. Also, in that case, you're not sure whether you're gonna be able to use it for a period of say 2 years. It's very difficult because you never know when it gets spoiled. So there are events wherein you are not 10% sure whether you will get the desired outcome. Okay, wherever you wish. So those kind of outcomes are, or those kind of events are called as, or those kind of experiments, sorry, are called as random experiments. Okay, now a random experiment has a event. Okay, a random experiment, first of all, okay, then what I get is called a sample space. For example, if I consider a experiment of throwing a die, okay, then all the possible, or the sample space of that would be um, getting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So there are six possible outcomes, right? And you are not sure each time when you throw a die, it's very difficult that you cannot predict that you will be getting six all the time. It's not going to happen all the time, right? So These are called as sample space. Now, sample space, there are certain things which are called event. Event is nothing but a subset of a sample space. That means a small part of a sample space. For example, if I say that I'm playing a die, okay, and the outcomes are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? Then if I say the event is I'm getting a number which is a multiple of 2, then that's an event, okay? And the event, if you write it explicitly, that would be with 2 comma 4 comma 6, right? This all three are multiples of 2, isn't it? So an event is nothing but a subset, like a small part of the sample space, right? Which may contain one outcome or more than one outcome. Okay, so that's called as an event. For example, if we take we'll take an experiment of this, right? Now, if I'm tossing two coins, then possible outcomes is both the times I might get head, both the times I might get tail. Once I may get a head in the first coin, tail in the second coin, or tail in the first coin and head in the second coin, right? So there are all together four possible outcomes. Out of this, if I say that my event is getting at least or exactly one tail, okay, I should get exactly one tail, not more than one tail I should get, right? Then the event can be written as there are only two possibilities for this event, right? Either I must get head in the first, tail in the second, or tail in the first, head in the second. In both ways I get exactly one head, sorry, and one head rather, and one tail. My event was getting one tail, right? So that's the event which can be written explicitly. And if I say the event is say getting at least one tail, at least one tail means what? I should get at least one tail. I can get more than one tail, but I should have at least one tail. Then, as you see, the event can be explicitly written as TTTHHT, right? So, this is what we call as sample space, event, and the random experiment, which we will be looking at, right? Uh, so let's see a certain kind of ideas. Let us consider an experiment of tossing a die. Okay, we are tossing up a die. Okay. And as I already mentioned, the possible outcomes if we are tossing a die are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Many of you must be champions by now playing Ludo, isn't it? Whole quarantine period. So you must know what exactly what are the outcomes and all those things, right? So let's say that tossing a die is a random experiment, right? And let's take the events to be, let's take three events A, B, C. Let A be the event of getting number less than three. Okay, I should get a number less than three. So suppose I want to cut somebody. Okay, then I want either one or two, right? Or number less than three, say suppose. Right? So that event, I'm writing it as A. Number less than three would be only two possibilities. One, either I should have one or two. Okay, let B be the event of getting number more than 4. Okay, I want to get a number more than 4. Say suppose I want to get a number more than 4, then only two possible outcomes for them. It's either a 5 or 6. And let's C be the event of getting a number less than 5. Okay, a number less than 5 would be 1. Either it can be 1 or 2 or 3 or so these are the possible events. Okay. Now there's some kind of, if you see this event and this, if you compare the sample space, you can relate it to something, right? Now let's say suppose if I take event A and event B. Okay. Now event A and B does not have anything in common. They are happening. I mean, they are kind of there's a word they're disjoint. Okay, okay. They have nothing in common. If you see event number, if getting a number less than three, okay, and you are getting a number more than four, they have nothing in common. Okay, so these kind of events are called as mutually exclusive events. Okay, when two events have nothing in common, okay, this are called as mutually exclusive events, right? One, two, four, one, two, and five, six. The event A and B rather are mutually exclusive, whereas event A and C are not mutually exclusive because one and two both are common to event A and event. Is this clear? Similarly, if I look at event C and B, they and if I combine them, if I join them together, what happens is I get the entire sample space. Okay, so if I take B and C together, combine them, right, I get the entire sample space, right? So such kind of events are called as mutually exhaustive. Two events, if you combine them, you get entire sample space, you get every possible outcome, right? Those kind of events are called as mutually exhaustive events. Is this fine? Okay. There's another type of thing here which I've not mentioned before I go to classical probability. There's something called as uh, complementary event. Okay. Now, what do you mean by complementary event? I can explain you with the help of an example. Okay. If I see C and B, they both are complementary. Okay. So whenever C happens, okay, I won't get D, isn't it? Whenever I get a number less than 5, I'm for sure not getting. So what are the possible outcomes which will not happen if C is my experiment? What is the possible outcomes when C happens won't happen? Okay, then it's called as the complement. Say suppose my event is getting number less than 5. Okay, so obviously my event would be 1 2 3 4. Now what are the possibilities which won't happen? I won't get 5 and I won't get 6, right? This is called as a complement of C, and this event is called as complementary event to C. Okay, right? B is called as complementary event to C, isn't it? And C and vice versa. C is called as complementary event. This is fine, right? I have not listed it down, but one can understand. Okay, there's something called as um equally likely events. Okay, event which may occur equally likely means there is 50-50 event, you can say, right? 50-50% of chance of either occurring this or occurring that. Okay, right? So this is called as um equally likely event. For example, tossing a head is equally tossing a die, sorry, tossing a coin is an equally likely event because there are exactly 50-50% of chance of getting either a head or a, right? uh Then there's something called as independent events. Okay, right? Two events are said to be independent if one has nothing to do with the outcomes of the other. Right? For example, if you are tossing a die, then getting five in the first toss and getting 5 in the second toss does not have anything to do with each other. They are both independent. Right? They have nothing to do with each other. So when two events have nothing to do with each other, they are called as independent. This is fine, right? So with these ideas, let's actually define what is the definition of classical probability. Okay, now you don't have to worry about this definition. All it says that suppose you are performing a random experiment. Okay, and um, there are n possible outcomes of that random experiment. Okay, and there's an event, right, and whose chances of occurrence are m, say suppose, okay, where m possibly is bigger than 0 and less than or equal to n. Okay, chances can be exactly on n or it must be less than, right? So if there's an event uh, which has m chances or m possibilities or m outcomes, or m outcomes favorable to that event, right, then the probability that a event a or then the probability of the event A is equal to the number of favorable outcomes to A upon total number of the outcomes of the random experiment. Okay, I hope this is clear. When you say probability of A, right? What is the chances of A happening, right? Then it's number of outcomes to A upon total number of outcomes of this random experiment or total number of elements in the sample space. You can say. Okay. For example, if you want to say what is the probability of getting a head, as I already mentioned when I was saying, I'm talking about 50-50 chances, right? It's exactly half. Or if I take the throwing of die, right, then the probability of getting a number less than 3, right, would be exactly 2 by 6 because there are two favorable possibilities for the event and there are total 6 possible outcomes in the sample space. So this will be 2 by 6. Similarly, getting a number less than 5, right, would be 4 by So let's see an example on this topic, that how do we actually find out probabilities. Let's take up a scenario that we have a pack of pack of well-shuffled cards, and we want to find the probability that which the two cards which I'm drawing are both face cards. One of them is black, one of them is red, and the third thing which we want to find is the probability of both cards being of the same color. Now, before we go to the solutions, let's look at certain aspects. I don't have to tell you this, but many of us are familiar with these ideas, right? That in a pack of cards, there are altogether 52 cards. Each I mean, there are two colors, isn't it? There are 26 cards of red color, 26 cards of uh, black color. There are four suits, right? Two suits of each color. Like in red, there are diamond and heart, and black, there are, I mean, club and suit. I'm sorry, club and spade, isn't it? So altogether there are four suits of 13 cards each. Okay. In each suit there are three face cards, isn't it? That is king, queen, and jack, right? And altogether in a suit there are 12 face cards, isn't it? So if I want to find the probability of these following events, let's consider them as ABC. Like first event, let it be A, second event, let it be B, and third event, let it be C. Okay. Now, if A has to happen, first of all, we need to find out how many ways this can happen. Okay. Now, if I see there are altogether 12 face cards, right? And I can choose two face cards from the 12 the face cards in 12 C2 ways, like combination of two cards, right? I mean, combination of 12 cards taken two at a time, isn't it? We've already seen this kind of examples when we are doing the combination, isn't it? So, first choice is of two cards that which are both face cards is 12C2. And if I look at the total number of experiments, two cards can be drawn from a 52 well shuffled cards is 52C2. That is two cards chosen, right? I mean, two combination of 52 items taken two at a time, isn't it? So the total number of outcomes here, right, are 52C2, isn't it? So the n which we are looking for is 52C2. I hope we know this kind of ideas. So therefore, if I look at the probability of A happening, then that would be total number of favorable outcomes to A upon the total number of possible outcomes, or the number of favorable outcomes to A upon total number of outcomes. Now, total number of outcomes we have already seen, that is 52C2, isn't it? And outcomes which are favorable to the event A are 12C2, isn't it? Therefore, the probability of A would be exactly 12C2 upon 52C2, which comes out to be 132 upon 2652. And if you do little bit of calculation, right, if you want it to be percentage wise, right, then it comes out to be exactly 4.9%. Okay, right? So that's the percentage of event A occurring. Is this fine? Right? Let's look at the second, perhaps, I mean, the second possibility or the probability of the second event to occur. Now, what happens here is I want to choose, oh, sorry, I want to find what is the possibility or the probability that the two cards I'm drawing are such that one card is of black color, one card is of red color, right? Now we have already seen in the combination ideas is when you choose two cards, like one of certain type and one of second type, what happens is the combination gets multiplied, right? So first of all, there are 26 black cards, as I have already said, and one card can be chosen in the from the 26 cards is in 12 C, sorry, 26 C one ways, right? One card can be chosen from 20 to 26 black cards in 26 C1 ways, isn't it? Similarly, one card can be chosen from 26 red cards in 12, sorry, 26 C1 ways as well, isn't it? So what happens is I can choose one card which is black, right, in 26 C1 ways. Similarly, one card which is red, right, from 26 cards in 26 C1 ways as well, isn't it? So together, right, the the drawing of two cards in which one is black and one is red will be of in or will be in 26C1 multiplied by 26C1 base, right? Two cards which is out of which one is black, one is red, right? Can be chosen, right, in 26C1 into 26C1 base. So my M here is 26C1 multiplied by 26C1, and of course N we have already discussed, it is 52C2. Therefore the probability of B happening, right, would be 26C1 multiplied by 26C1 upon 52C2 ways, which comes out to be 26 upon 51. And if you look at the percentage, it is exactly almost 51% chances. There is 51% of chances that two cards which you are picking, they might be of one of red, one of black color. Okay, this is fine. Now, if I look at the third type of event here, right? I want to find the probability of the event in which both the cards are of same color. Okay. Now, same color means either they should be the black cards, both should be black cards, or either they should be both red cards, right? There's or in between, and we know that when or comes, the combination gets multiplied, isn't it? So, first of all, two cards, right, which are black can be chosen in 26C2 ways, right? Two black cards can be chosen in 26C2 ways, right? Similarly, two red cards can be chosen in 26 ways as well, isn't it? Therefore, the outcomes favorable to the event 3 or C rather, isn't it, are 26C2 plus because there is kind of or. Both means there are two possibilities here, right? Both means either they can be both red or they can be both black, isn't it? There's or in between. We know that when there's or in between, the combinations gets multiplied, right? Two cards, right, can be drawn, right, which are both black or both red, right? The total number of ways in which this can be done is 26C2 plus 26C2, right? And as we know that total outcomes for this random experiment are 52C2, right? So the probability that C will occur, right, would be equal to 26C2 plus 26C2 upon 52C2. That is 25 by 51, isn't it? Which comes out to be, if I look at the percentage, that's almost 50%, right? Almost 49% you can say. Right? So that's the probability happening in the event. So I hope this example is clear. Let's go to the next example. What I want to do is I want to form a committee of two persons here, right? In which, for which I have four men and three women at my disposal, right? I want to form a committee of two persons out of the four men and three women, right? In together, the total number of people I have are seven. Okay. I want to find what is the probability that the committee will have no man, that is, it would be a female dominant committee. Second possibility I want to find is that there's one man, exactly one man, and the third is there are exactly two men. Okay, so let us do the same ideas. Let A, B, C with the event A, event 1, event 2, and event 3, isn't it? Right? Now, if I see the total number of people I will have at my disposal would be 3 plus 4, that is 7. Okay, and I want to choose two people from this, right? Now, two people can be chosen from a total number of 7 people in 7C2 ways, right? If you know the little bit of combination ideas. Here the order is immaterial in which I choose, right? As we have already discussed, isn't it? So it will be 12, 7C2 ways. Is this fine? Right? Now, if I look at the first event here, right? I want to find the probability that there are no men, right? So if the event that there are no men are there, isn't it? Then what will happen is there'll be exactly two women, right? I want to form a committee of two women, right? If no men are there, then both will be women, right? And we can choose two women from three possible women E, 3C2 ways, right? And we have already known that two people can be chosen out of seven people in 7 2 ways, right? Therefore, the probability that event A will occur would be 3C2 upon 7C2, which will be equal to 1 by 7, right? So exactly 1/7 chances are there, or if I want to look at percentage, then there's 14% of chances that that committee will have no man. Okay, right? Let's look at the second possibility, right? If I want to find what is the probability that there's one man in that, so if one man is in the committee, the other one must be women, right? Right? I want exactly one man in the committee, right? Then the other man has to be the women. Is this clear? Right? So the first probability is as good as you can say that what is the probability that both are women in the committee, right? To say that two men are there, what's the probability that both are women? Is this fine? Right? Second thing is I want to have exactly one man, right? We'll have one man, right? What is the probability that there'll be one man? So if there's one man, the other must be women, right? So again, the choosing comes in picture, right? One man can be chosen from a possible availability of four men in 4C1 ways, right? Similarly, one woman can be chosen from three possible women in 3C1 ways, right? Therefore, the probability that the event B would occur, isn't it? Would be would be 3C1 multiplied by 4C1, because I want to have one. If there's one man, there will be women. So this question is as good as what is the probability that there is one man and one woman in the committee. Is this clear? And there's and in between. You got to multiply the combinations. We already know that. So the possibility comes out to be 4 by 7, or it is exactly almost 57% chances are there that there will be one man and one woman in the committee. Is this fine? Right? Let's look at the third question. Two men. If there are two men, that means there are no women. Two men can be chosen from a availability of four men in 4C2 ways upon the total possible ways is 7C2, right? It doesn't change. So it is exactly equal to 1 by 7. No man, no woman. The possibility is is this fine, right? So let's go to the next. Let's look at this bag which has 100 tickets, okay, and the tickets are numbered from 1 to 100, and I'm drawing a ticket at random. Okay, I want to find what is the possibility that the ticket is either a multiple of 2 or multiple of 3. You need to be very careful in this kind of examples. You got to the question looks easier, but then it's not easy in that way. Okay, if I look at the the question, okay, what happens is I'm choosing the tickets, right? In which one can be a multiple of two, or it can also be a multiple of three, right? There's or in between. So, you need to understand the fact. Okay. Now, first of all, if I look at multiples of two, okay, they are in from in between 1 to 100, then they are all the even numbers, right? Which are even, right? And we know that from 1 to 100 there are exactly 50 even, 50 odd, isn't it? Right? So that this is the thing you got to understand. Second, the thing is the multiples of 3, right? Multiples of 3 are coming in the table of 3, right? So if you count table of, I mean, if you see the table of 3, right? till 30 there are 10 multiples of 3. Okay, so let's see the solution of this. First of all, as I said, there are, let's denote the probability that I will get, or the event that I would draw a ticket with even number on it. Let me denote it as A, and as there are exactly 50 odd and 50 even numbers, multiples of 2 would be exactly 50, right? Because both, I mean, all would be even numbers, right? And there are 50 even numbers, so probability that A would happen is 50 by 100, right? Similarly, let B be the event that one would choose uh, a ticket with a multiple of 3, right? Now the multiples of 3 are coming in the table of 3, right? So from 1 to 30 there are exactly 10 multiples of 3, right? From 30 to 60 there are again 10 multiples of 3. From 30 to 60 there are 10 multiples of 3, and from 30 to 90 again there are 10 multiples of 3, and from 90 to 100 there are 3 multiples of 3, right? So altogether if I collect all the multiples of 3, there'll be exactly 10 plus 10 plus 10 plus 3, that will be 33 multiples of 3. So the probability that I would choose a ticket with the multiple of 3 written on it would be exactly 33 by 100. This is clear, right? Now it's not so easy. You would say that okay, that's done, right? And because it's OR, right, you add the probabilities. That's correct, right? I would just, because we know that if the all right, okay, when I have or in between, generally we add the probabilities. But then there's a problem here, okay, that these two events are not independent, okay? Independent as in there's something common in both of them. For example, if I look at 6, okay, it is even number as well as it is multiple of 3, isn't it? It's even number, that is it's multiple of 2 as well as it is a multiple of 3. So I already have that even it's counted in uh when I was looking at probability of A as well as probability of B, right? So what happens is that event is appearing twice, right? 6 is appearing twice. 6, if I take it as an outcome, it is appearing in probability of A as well as probability of B, isn't it? That outcome, right, is appearing in both the probabilities. So what happens is I will have to subtract the probabilities of the common events, right? What are the common events? That a number, because I'm looking at either it has to be a multiple of 2 or it has to be a multiple of 3. It cannot be multiple of both, isn't it? It's either, isn't it? So we need to subtract the event in which a number is multiple of both, right? It's multiple of 3 as well as multiple of 2, right? So first of all, let us find out what are those numbers, right, which are multiple of 2 as well as multiple of 3. So if I look at any number which is multiple of 2 and multiple of 3, isn't it? Then it must be a multiple of 6, isn't it? Because any multiple of 2 and 3 is a multiple of 6. For example, look at 6, it's a multiple of 2 and 3. 12, it's a multiple of 2 and 3, right? Together, right? So that means all these multiples of 6, right? We need to collect and find their probability, isn't it? Occurring, and then subtract, isn't it? So the problem here is to find probability of A occurring or B occurring, right? And what you got to do is subtract the probability of A and B, both the thing which are occurring, because there's a common thing. If there was no common, we would have been literally done, okay? But that's not the case here. So let's look at this one, okay? Now what we do is we find out all the multiples of 6, right? So how many multiples of 6 are there? All the multiples of 6 are coming in the table of 6, right? From say from 1 to 60 there are exactly 10 multiples of 6, isn't it? Right? And from 60, right, to 100 rather, there are exactly 6 multiples of 3, 6 multiples of 6, isn't it? So if I collect them, there are exactly 16 multiples of 6 from 1 to 100, right? And what is the probability that I will get a multiples of 6, right? Total outcomes are 100, and favorable to this event, it is the multiple of, it's a multiple of 2 and 3 both, right? It is 16. So the probability that the event will occur in which I will get a ticket of both multiples of 2 and 6, let me denote it as C, right? Then the probability of C occurring would be 16 by 100, right? And now, once I have subtracted the probability that both are occurring together, I will exactly get the probability of either A occurring or B occurring. How do I do that? What I do is I add probability of A occurring to the probability of B occurring and subtract that the probability of A and both A and C, A and B both occur, right? So that is exactly equal to 50 by 100 plus 33 by 100 minus 16 by 100, which gives me 67 by 100. So the probability, or the possibility, or the chance that I will either get a multiple of 2 or multiple of 3 would be exactly 67%, right? So what we have done here is, if I look at this problem, whenever I want to find a probability of a event A occurring or a event B occurring, I look at whether they are independent. Okay, independent means they are independent, as in they are mutually, if I can say, they are mutually exclusive, right? If they have nothing in common, right? If they, if they are mutually exclusive, that means they have nothing in common, they have absolutely no element in common, right? Then what will happen is, when you have either A occurring or B occurring, and if you want to find the probability of A or B occurring, then if they are mutually exclusive, what you do is you just add probability of A to probability of B to get the probability of A or B. But if they are not mutually exclusive, we have seen the definition of mutually exclusive, or I've told you what mutually exclusive event looks like, then what you got to do is subtract the probability of A and B both occurring together. Okay, we'll have to see how A and B both occur together, right? And subtract the possibility of A and B occurring together. What you get is probability of A or probability that either A occurs or B occurs. This is fine. So that's the idea about the uh, setup here, right? And this kind of setup, there's a name to this. This is called as the addition theorem of probability. Okay, what it says is, let's look at the statement, right? What it says is, if there are two events A and B, right? Then the probability that A or B will occur, right, would be given as probability of A occurring plus probability of B occurring minus the probability that A and B both occur simultaneously, right? If you look at this one, if I look at the event A, right, and event B, then there's some part common to this. If I look at this figure here, right, if this is the event A, this is the event B, and there is a common um, common area to both of them, right? So if A occurs or B occurs, I have to subtract this probability. If they are disjoint as in they are mutually um, exclusive, then it's just probability of A and B. So you have to remember that they are mutually exclusive or not. If they are not mutually exclusive, you have to subtract the probability of A and B both occurring simultaneously. Is this fine? It's fine. Okay. Right. So let's look at the example, right, to make it more clear. Suppose I have a card drawn from a pack of cards. Okay, and then I want to find the probability that it's either a spade or a black card, right? And the second question is, I want to find the probability that it's either a king or a queen, right? Now let me explain you here, okay, with the events, whether they are mutually exclusive or not. If I look at either a spade or a black card, if I look at spade and black, spade is also a black card, right? So when I pick spade, I'm also picking a black card, right? So I want to have a black card. When I say black card, that means it's either a spade or another black card, not a spade, right? So this event here has something in common, right? Spade has intersection with black cards, right? Spades are also the black cards, isn't it? So they are not mutually exclusive events, right? But here it's either a king or a queen. They are both mutually exclusive, because a king cannot be a queen and queen cannot be a king. They are completely different cards, right? But spade card and black card are spade are also black cards, so they are not mutually exclusive, isn't it? So if I look at the first answer, right, there are, as I said, 13 spade cards. What's the probability that you will be choosing a spade is given by 13 by 52, right? 13 favorable outcomes to when it comes to the event of picking a spade, and there are altogether 52 cards, so it will be exactly 1 by 4, right? Similarly, when you say black card, there are 26 black cards. What is the probability that you will be choosing a black card? It will be exactly 26 by 52, 1 by 2. Now the point is, because I am saying that these are not mutually exclusive, that means I'll have to subtract the probability that it's spade as well as black, right? Spade as well as black means total a card which is spade as well as black, that will be 13 possibilities, isn't it? 13 possible outcomes, right? So you have to subtract 13 by 52, that is probability of A and B both occurring together, that is 13 by 52, which is 1 by 4 again. So what I get is the probability that a card drawn will be either a spade or a black card would be exactly half. Is this clear? Right, 1 by 4 you will got to subtract, right? Now when you say it's either a king or a queen, there are four kings, right? Therefore the probability that it will be a king would be 4 by 52. Similarly, there are four queens, isn't it? Therefore the probability that it's a queen will be 4 by 52. So the probability that, and they are kind of mutually exclusive, they are disjoint events, they are nothing in common, right? The probability that is either a king or a queen would be 8 by 52. Is this fine? So you got to see whether the event is mutually exclusive or it's not mutually exclusive when you're looking at the theorem of addition for probability, right? When it comes to OR, right, you got to see this A and B events, whether they are mutually exclusive or not. If they are mutually exclusive, just add the probabilities of event A and event B together to get the total probability. Or if they are not mutually exclusive, then what you got to do is you have to subtract the probability that A and B both occur. Is this fine, right? So let's look at something else. Okay, so let's look at something called as conditional probability. Now what is conditional probability? It's very unfamiliar territory for most of the people, but let's understand certain phenomena. A conditional probability means if suppose there are two events, okay, such that the second event occurs later and has something to do with event A, okay, then there's a condition for the when the event B occurs, right? So when there's a condition on the event B, okay, see, let me again explain this. There are two events happening, okay. Event A happens first, okay. Event B happens second, okay. Now event B, which is happening second, has to do something with the event A, right? Right? Then the probability of B happening is called as conditional probability, because what happens is B has something to do with the event A, right? For example, let's take an example here, right? I'm drawing a card from a pack of 52 cards and keeping it aside. Okay, so the first event is drawing a card from a pack of 52 cards and keeping it aside. The second event is drawing another card from the same pack. Okay, what I'm saying is I'm drawing a card from the first 52 cards, right, and I'm keeping it aside. That becomes my first event. Since first event has already occurred, right, second event will have to do something with the first event, right, because I've already chosen one card. So remaining cards, see, there are 52 cards. Since I have taken one card and kept it aside, what happens is this event, second event becomes conditionally related to the first event, right? So if I look at the probability here that the second card drawn will be black, right? We got to understand one thing, and it's given that the first card was also black, right? So what is the probability of choosing a black card from a pack of 52 cards? That is exactly 26 upon 52, isn't it? Choosing a, what is the probability that I would choose a, I mean, what is the probability that I will get a black card from a pack of 52 cards? Exactly half, right? Because 26 black cards are there, probability will be 26 by 2. Is this fine, right? And because A has already occurred, right? The probability that the second card will also be a black, because I'm choosing one black card, there won't be 52 cards at my disposal. There would be exactly 51 because I'm keeping it aside, right? Therefore, the probability of B happening would be 25 because one black card is already taken, right? And total it will be 51 cards remaining, so it will be 25 by 51. Is this clear? Right? So this is called as conditional probability. Okay, so let's define what is called as conditional probability. Okay. Um, so the probability of event B, given that A has already occurred, okay, is called as conditional probability of B, given that A has already happened, and it's denoted as probability of B given A. We call this as probability of B. The notation here is a bit of a problem, but I hope it's clear. Probability of B given A. That means A has already occurred and B is happening after A has occurred. It has something to do with the event A, right? This is fine. For example, in this problem, which we have already seen, second time when we were drawing a card, because first card was already been drawn, right, and was placed aside, and it was black, right? Therefore, when the second event is to occur, first of all, there are only 51 cards available, right? Because one card is already taken away, and it's given that the card is black, therefore there are only 21 black cards remaining, right? So again, the possibility that I'm gonna get a black card would be exactly 25 by um, 51, isn't it? Now, if the card which is drawn, right, was suppose it was second time, suppose it was red instead of black, right? What is the possibility that the second card drawn is red? Then it would be 26 by 51. In that case, only one card is taken away, so total cards will be 51, but red card is same, right? Because first card was drawn which was black and taken away, right? It has nothing to do with red. Is this fine? Right? Now, if I look at this one, in this case, if I when I place a card again back to the card for the second event to occur, for example, in the same example, let us say I am drawing the first card, okay, and what is the possibility that it's black, right? It's 26 by 52, right? I'm placing it again, okay. I am putting it again in the deck, right? I'm not keeping it aside. I'm again putting it inside the deck. Is this clear? Now, when the second event will occur, will have nothing to do with the first event, isn't it? Because first event has already occurred, and I have put the card back to the deck of card, isn't it? So, second event in that case would be independent of first event. And what will happen is probability of B given A would be exactly nothing but probability of B, right? This is clear, because in that case A B would be independent of A. If B is not independent of A, we call it as conditional probability of B, right? Is this clear? Right? So let's go deep. So let's look at this example here. Before that, let's look at the remark. Okay, say this is called as a multiplication theorem of probability. There are two kind of uh, statement. One when the events are independent. One when the events are not independent. Okay, so if A and B are two events, such that the probability uh, I mean, if A and B are two events, such that they are not independent of each other. Okay, that means when B occurs, it has something to do with A, right? Then the probability of A and B both will occur is given by P of A multiplied by P of B given A, or it is called as conditional probability of B. Right? And if the event A and B are independent, that means they have nothing to do with each other. Then the probability of A and B both occurring is given by probability of A multiplied by probability of it. Okay. So let's look at this example. Suppose I have a bag, and in that bag I have 10 balls which are black and 5 balls which are white. Okay, I'm drawing two balls, from the bag one after the other without replacement. What do you mean by without replacement is I'm drawing the first ball, okay, keeping it aside, right, and then I'm drawing the second ball. Is this clear? Right? I'm not replacing the first ball, right? Now, what I want to find is what is the probability that both the drawn balls are black, right? That means first ball is also black, second ball is also black, right? Now, let me denote A to be the drawing of the first ball, right? And B to be drawing of the second ball. Now, when I draw the first ball, the probability that it's black ball, right? Probability that the first ball is black would be 10 by 15, because there are 10 balls which are black and together they are 15 black balls. Is this clear? Right? So it will be 10 by 15, right? Now, since I'm not replacing the ball back. Second time when I draw the ball, right, there'll be only 14 balls remaining, right, in the bag, out of which 9 would be black and 5 would be white balls, right? So again, if I find the probability that the drawn ball is black, that would be 9 by 14. Is this clear? Because one black ball is drawn and one ball is drawn rather, which is black. So total ball would be 14, black ball would remain 9. Is this clear? Thus, the probability of A and B both happening, right, would be probability of A happening multiplied by conditional probability of B. Probability of B is 9 by 14. Is this clear? So together what will happen is I will get 3 by 7. Is this clear? Right? So that's what the multiplication theorem is all about. Let us look at the final example. It's again with the same kind of ideas of balls. Okay. What I'm doing is I'm doing two successive trials here. Okay, two trials rather. In the first trial, I'm not replacing the ball which is drawn, and the second is I'm replacing the ball. Okay, so let's look at this example. What I'm doing is I have a bag which has uh, 10 balls. Okay, 6 red and 4 white balls. Similar kind of a problem which we already did in the first and before this. And what I'm doing is I'm taking out 3 possible balls from these 10 balls. Okay, then what I want to find is I want to find that what's the probability that I will get 3 white balls and 3 red balls. Okay, so the event A, let the event A be drawing of three white balls. Okay, the first draw in the first draw, and let B be the event of drawing 3 red balls in the second draw. Is this clear? It's a simple problem, right? A, B. What I want to find is what is the probability that I will get 3 white balls and 3 red balls, right? Isn't it? Right. So what happens here is it's just in the first event. If suppose I am replacing the ball. Say that means I am removing 3 white balls first, okay, and before I draw another 3 balls from the bag, I am putting the balls. Okay, so it's like I'm removing 3 balls in the first event, right? And when the second event occurs, that means I'm removing another 3 balls, right? I am putting back the previous 3 balls which I have removed. Is this fine? So what happens is, since I have already put back the balls in the bag, the event becomes independent. The second drawing becomes independent of the first event, right? So in this case, they are independent. That means the probability of A and B both will happening would be equal to P of A multiplied by P of B. Now, if I look at this problem, I have 6 red and 4 white balls, right? 3 balls I am picking up. So 3 white balls can be chosen from a group of 4 white balls in 4C3 ways. And 3 balls can be chosen from a 10 balls from a bag of or from a group of 10 balls in 10C3 ways. So the probability of A, right, that I can choose 3 white balls, right, from a 10 balls would be 4C3 upon 10C3, right, which comes out to be 1 by 80. You can check that out, right? And probability of B, that means again, look at this. I'm removing 3 balls and I'm again putting that 3 balls back, and the 3 balls which I'm picking up later, okay, in the second event, right, that they are red balls would be 6C3 upon 10C3 because I have replaced the balls, right? So what I get is 1 by 6, and if I multiply them, the answer would be somewhere around 1 by 1080. Okay, this is the probability when A and B are independent. Now suppose the events are not independent, right? That means I'm removing the first drawing is made of 3 balls. Okay, what is the probability that these 3 balls are black? Oh, sorry, what is the probability that these 3 balls are white? Would be exactly given by the same probability which is given in the first event, that is 4C3 upon 10C3, which is given by 180. Now, when second drawing is made, the balls which I have already removed, I am not putting them back in the bag. Are you getting my point? I'm taking them and keeping them aside, right? So what will happen is the event B to occur, the total balls I will be left over would be exactly 7, right? Because 3 balls I have already removed and I kept them aside. Are you getting my point? So balls which are left over would be exactly 7. Is this fine? Right? Therefore, probability that I remove 3 red balls, right, would be 6C3, right, upon 7C3. Are you getting my point? Because out of 10 balls, since I have already taken 3 balls back, right, and kept them aside, the total balls remaining would be 7, right? And 6 red balls are still there because whatever I have picked, right, in the first event are the black balls. Are you getting my point? I'm removing the black ball, so it does not affect my red balls in any which way, right? So what will happen is probability of A and B both occurring again would be now given by probability of A multiplied by conditional probability of B, right? Which would be 180 as first event it is, and here in the second event probability of B will change. Probability of B would be in that case the conditional probability of B, right? Which would be given by 4 by 7, and hence the answer would be 1 by 135. So this is what the multiplication theorem is all about, and you can take various problems, right? Only thing you have to make sure that whether the events are independent or not. Okay, so this kind of problems wherein two drawings are made successively or one after the other, right? You got to be careful whether the ball is replaced or the item which is removed is replaced or not. If it is not replaced, right, it's a conditional probability in the second event. You got to remember that. Is this fine, right? So I hope this is helpful in the discussion, right? There are a lot of things I would have liked to discuss here. There are a lot of problems also which I could have discussed, but the point here is it's very difficult to go about the slides, because it's very difficult to, put up a lot of slides because of the time constraint, and also the interest, because people generally don't sit back for too much amount of time, and it's very difficult for a person to concentrate and uh, grasp everything. So I hope this video can be taken as a startup, towards learning of probability, right? Nobody of course can learn everything in one day, right? So I hope this can be taken as a startup to learn probability rather than, actually thinking that I have learned everything from probability. So it's just a building step. I hope you can encounter a lot of examples. Okay, I will also try to give you, if you are interested, I will leave the examples somewhere which you can try, or you can also, if you are too much interested, you can look any problems, but there would you need to have little bit of, ideas. There are other things also in this probability which I'm not discussing because of the time constraint, as I said. So thank you very much. It's a pleasure talking here, and it was nice to give a lecture on probability. And thank you. I hope the motive is served, that we have at least understood something about probability, if not everything, right? That would be very pleasing to me, because finally, at the end of the day, what uh, a, a person who is explaining wants is learn, who the one who are listening, understand certain things. Okay, so thank you, thanks, and thanks a lot, and that's it about the ideas of problem.